Yo, yo, yo. Who that nation? Welcome to the WDN Chatline Podcast. This is the host CB. And next to me, I want you guys to welcome back the MOD Saints Uptown. Saints Uptown, what it do, fam? What it do?
Yeah, what's going on, man? As y'all know, 100% official, who that nation. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Man, it's glad to have you back, fam. Been a long off season. And we still catching up, but you know, we had all took a break from the podcast, and then, I decided to, crank it back up, and then we all, want to crank this thing back up. So, man, it's glad to have you back, fam. Definitely been missing, the voice of the MOD. And shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to WDWD. He been in and out. You guys be on the lookout for him as well. But yeah, man, glad to have you back. We have a lot done transpired.
Good to be back, man. What's going on, Jerry?
Okay, we're gonna go over to these comments. Okay, Jerry, man. Definitely, man. It's been big the past couple weeks. So that's basically where it's been, fam. But I'm gonna be honest. I had done a show right after the draft, and right after the draft, man. Really the OTAs, the way it's been going down these past couple of years, I really don't take much into the OTAs. I mean, yes, it's a few discussions you can have, which we'll get into some of that today. But man, I'm ready for training camp. I'm ready to see what how Kellen Moore gonna try to put this thing together, man. I have, some interesting questions. Definitely that me and Uptown gonna discuss. But yeah, that's basically been that, man. These OTAs, I really don't I'm not gonna say I don't have interest in, but it's really not a lot getting determined. You know, you basically just it's a bunch of learning, a bunch of learning during that phase. But yeah, things definitely is gonna get cracking. Okay, you said I had a birthday last Saturday, man. Happy belated birthday, OG.
Happy belated birthday, bro. Well, I can say this much, right? The only reason why I'm paying a little bit more attention to this particular off season and stuff is because we got the new coaching staff there, and I want to see just in particular how he prepares the team. What's his we're interested in seeing what his coaching philosophy is, what kind of team this team is what's going to be his signature. So that's the only reason why this particular offseason draws a lot of interest. Now, going forward, maybe the second year of Kellen Moore, second and third year, or how many of the other years that we have, with him, it will be a little different because we may be familiar with, whatever his coaching philosophy is, how he prepares his team in the off season. We may be more familiar with that. The same way that it was when we had Sean Payton, and unfortunately when we had the other
guy. Yeah, I feel your net. So how today's show gonna go? Who that nation? Like I said, we have the MOD back in the building. Yes, he's family to the podcast, but I want to play catch up because we all, include myself, man. We all want to get
Yeah, me too.
thoughts on everything that's been transpiring, and then of course we both will be discussing about the recent stuff, and um, of course Derek Carr. That
Mm.
little situation. It's a lot we're gonna get into, so we can go ahead and get it started. Uptown, man.
Let me say this too, CB. If whoever ain't watching this, y'all gonna be upset with y'all self, man, because we gonna get it in real good for y'all right now. It's some valuable stuff, man. Y'all gonna wish that y'all was here. But go ahead, TB.
Yes, sir. Fam, definitely, fam. So we're gonna go all the way back to the draft, all the way back to the draft, because we had conversation, up into Kellen Moore being the coach and stuff. But after that, the draft and all of that. So let's just go back to the draft, man. What was your thoughts on the draft process? How we attacked the draft and the pieces that we brought in, and the QB that we got. So what was your whole takeaway from the draft process?
I pretty much like it, and there's two reasons why I like the draft. Even though I think that we really attacked all the areas where we needed, with the exception of wide receiver. We didn't really attack that area. That's the only place I think that we left the draft not really addressing. I don't think we drafted a wide receiver at all, and I think we may have gotten one in as an undrafted free agent. But I like the, what we have to do. Let's remove. I guess people talk about superstar players or whatever, right? Okay, let's remove that out of the element. I think the players that they got have good character. Most of these cats, if you really pay attention to you really do your homework. They were captains of their teams. You know, they were leaders in their locker room. And it was a real smart draft because I think in every aspect where we have an older veteran at that's going to be leaving soon, we got a qualified young guy if he stays on the trajectory to be the next leader to come in, to replace him, you know. And this is obvious on both sides of the field because Kelvin Banks, he was a captain. All the way down to Fidel Diggs, he was a captain on his team. Jonas Sankier, he was a captain on his team. Stutzman, he was a captain on his team. They did a good job at trying to identify characters with leadership qualities and good, characteristics, that can build something, some type of chemistry, going forward in the locker room. Now, the fruits of this draft we may not see immediately. And if you don't see it immediately, don't just look at it and say it wasn't a good draft. I think that the fruits of this draft we will see somewhere in 2027, 2028, somewhere down the line. Once when these players are seasoned, they veterans in the league, and they have established themselves as leaders in the locker room. That's when I think we're going to see the fruits of this draft. I don't think there's no area. I don't think there's. Let me put it like this. I don't think that there's any player that the Saints really reach for in this draft, and I don't think that there's any player that the Saints drafted that I don't think can play and contribute to the football team. And that goes for all the draft picks that we have.
Oh wow, now that's interesting. Well, obviously, where I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go to Tyler Shutt, the pit,
Yeah.
the Tyler Shutt pit. What is your thoughts on that? Do you think he
Um,
come right away?
I've seen people, since the draft. I've seen a lot of people come out. People got a lot of respect for what their opinions are around the league. Somebody specifically like Lewis Reddick, and he swears that this guy was the best quarterback taken in the draft. That's his words, not mine. Okay. Now I know what the big obvious thing is going to be with Saints fans that hey, look, we passed up on Shadir Sanders, and in my opinion, let me say this. Let me make a disclaimer to let everybody know. Saints Uptown thought that Shadir Sanders was the best quarterback in his draft. Okay, I want to quantify what I'm about to say, by saying that first. Um, I think us passing up on Shadir Sanders, I don't think that is going to be much of a karma on the Saints as it would be on the other teams that passed up on him. And let me tell you why I say that, CB. I think last season, the Saints did what we would call the charitable case, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Remember, we took Spencer Rattler in the fifth round of the draft.
Mhm.
The same thing that happened to Spencer Rattler is similar to what happened to Shadur Sanders. For some reason, for some unknown reason, people thought that they didn't feel like he was worthy enough to be taken in the earlier rounds. Whether they didn't like his character or whatever. But what I heard that the reason why Spencer fell so low is because of the things that they saw of him when he was in high school on a documentary for Netflix. A 17-year-old kid. You understand what I'm saying? So he
Right.
tumbles down to the fifth round where the Saints drafted him. So I don't feel that the karma, now had the Saints not did that, I think pretty much that we probably would have some karma coming to us, for not making what I would think would be the obvious choice in who I believe was the best quarterback in this draft. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I feel that. Now, if we had taken Shook and the consensus around the board was that he sucked, that he wasn't a good player, and all that, I probably would feel some kind of way. But I haven't seen any expert, or quote unquote analyst, say anybody that said that he just sucked. What I heard was that that the thing that really hurt him was the injuries that happened when he was in college is what really held him back. And then he went to one program, and then that program changed their head coach, which we know how that go. If the head coach, if you're not that head coach guy, then you may have some trouble on that depth chart. So then he had to leave, which which anybody with any kind of sense, they would do that too, But in saying that, right, it appears that the Saints didn't really do a bad job at drafting this guy because so far he's hitting all the right notes. He's hitting all the right notes in the OTAs, which I try to temper a whole lot of expectation. Some of that stuff you hear there, you can you can take it with a grain of salt, and some of it you can really take seriously. But he I'm hearing that he's doing pretty good in the OTAs. The ball is not really hitting the ground, and I heard the ball is not hitting the ground when it comes down to Spencer as well. But what really sets him apart and really is going to make him, stick with the Saints or perhaps, find his place with the Saints somehow is the way he immediately ingratiated himself with the community. You see? And that's what cats got to learn. See, Derek didn't learn that. And Derek paid for that because he didn't learn that. If you love New Orleans, New Orleans will love you. And he immediately ingratiated himself with the community, made himself familiar with the community. He went out to a very, very popular restaurant in New Orleans The first night that after he had got drafted and all that. And he's been hitting the right notes. So that's how I feel about the draft. My favorite player, I think the dark horse, or I would say that the player that is going to emerge, and when we look back at this draft and be like, damn, that was a heck of a pick. I think that cat Devin Neal. I
Mm,
think that cat Devin Neal. He's going to be the cat that we look back on and be like, yeah, it was a good idea drafting him. I think we stole him in the draft.
yeah, that definitely was a steal. I'm shocked how he draft. I mean, how he dropped that low. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, we got him. He has an opportunity because I mean, given the current roster, yeah, we just brought in Cam Akers, but Kendre Miller, I think Saints fans we about fed up with him because every other week, that hamstring messing up on him. But it's a good point you made on Tyler Shutt though about the community. That is important. Um,
Yeah.
getting getting ingrained with the community, especially in New Orleans. And I believe once you do that, that's less pressure that you gonna get from the fans. I'm talking about ASAP because he
Mhm.
he gonna have to. That's just part of being a rookie. He gonna have some games where he got to get it together. You rarely have like a Jay. He could be a Jaden Daniels where he just come off the rip and play, but everybody ain't gonna come out like Jaden Daniels. And
Mhm.
but if he doesn't, that just give us a little patience with him compared to Derek Carr. He you coming out talking about you eating at Chipotle and stuff like that. That's already giving a bad taste in the Saints fan base mouth. So it's just less patience we had with him. But Tyler Shuck, my thing is with that situation, I believe we need to bring in a vet QB. I'm not saying necessarily need to start, but at least to just for the
I think the reason why they ruled out that this is what I was from my understanding is because the coaches that is coaching him, they all play quarterback in the NFL. Whatever mentorship that he can benefit from he can be benefited from them. Because Kellen Moore played quarterback. He played for Boise State.
right.
Doug Nussmeyer, who's the quote unquote offensive coordinator, he played quarterback. Remember, we drafted him. You know what I'm saying? Then they got Scott Tolzien. You know, he played quarterback. Remember, he played quarterback. And then backup roles with the New England Patriots. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the reason why they ain't bring nobody in. And I think that we might benefit from that because sometimes whoever the quote unquote mentor quarterback is, they can also mentor them and teach them bad habits. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
You
That's
know,
true.
so if they fresh off the start, they listen to the coaches and all that, they can develop, um, winning and positive, habits, within themselves. So I think that might even benefit them, but they insist, and I've been paying attention to that too, CB. They practically putting their head on a chopping block that they're not going to bring in another quarterback. So it is what it is. The ones that we got in there, including the undrafted rookie who they say would have been drafted, had he not got involved in some type of gambling scandal in college and Haina. So it is what it is. And So far, I'm hearing that it's been a heated battle between Spencer and Shook, and they say Spencer is getting the edge because Spencer is reading much faster than what Shook is reading, and they saying that the ball is coming out, once when he plant his back foot, so he's able to read the field a lot faster than the rookie, and he does have a substantial amount of playing experience over Shook in college and in the NFL.
Okay, well, I'll ask you this, and then we can move on. Now, if he gets beat out by Spencer Rattler, have you given up on Tyler Shook, or how does that play out? Because now, what if Spencer Rattler beats him out, and Spencer continues to play solid and is solid for us?
This is the way I look at it, CB. The best man should win the job. Period. You know. This how I'm going to answer that question too. And to answer that question fully, it all depends on the way he won the job. Okay. Now, if Spencer beats him out and he just blows him away, I think I would have a problem with that. Okay. I think I would. If Spencer going to beat him out, I want Spencer to beat him out. I want the competition to be a lot closer than him just blowing him away. If that makes sense,
Right.
because if he just blow him away, then I might be looking, a little sideways at that pick, because remember that was a high second round pick. You know what I'm saying? I might be looking a little sideways at it. But if they was nick and nick and nick and nick and nick and nick, and then Spencer blew him away within the last say few weeks, of the season or something. I mean, of training camp or something like that. You know, then I'm not gonna look at it all funny and stuff. So I'll be like, when they went toe to toe. It seemed like it was, real good competition between the two. And in the event that something happens to Spencer, I will have a lot more confidence in Shook coming in and playing. I mean, if that makes sense, that answer.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense, fam. I see CPG in the comments say y'all gonna be last in the division. No, no comment.
Yeah, just you
No
need to
comment.
chill out. You need to chill out, bro. You know you don't want none of me. You don't want none of that, none of me. Stop it, bro. Stop while you're ahead, bro. You don't want none of me.
So
You
y'all
never give it to me.
about lost Bryce Young, and it still ain't no guarantee. He finished the season strong, but it's still a open.
Let's just continue, man. We just gonna pretend like we didn't even see that from that scrub. You understand what I'm saying? And we just gonna pretend like we never even seen that, because that boy know better than that. That boy that boy see who name on the screen. He should know better than that. But let's continue, CB. Ignore that, man. Brush that off. Yeah.
Shout out to RG Scott. I see him in the building. So okay, let's see. We hit on the draft. You want to get into the Derek Carr retirement? You want to get your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm pretty sure you was excited about that. We get some money from that situation.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaways on Derek Carr?
Oh boy, that was some great news to hear that. I don't think I could have even stomached seeing him again in the Saints uniform. Bye bye, bro. We never liked you. We never even try to like you. I mean, you suck. You understand what I'm saying, bro? I mean, I always did. I've been saying for years and years and years and years, even before you became a Saint. I've been telling people, you suck, man. Everybody knows, everybody that ever heard me, they know I never liked that dude. You understand? And I think he gave, I heard a little rumors, I don't want nobody to start running with nothing, but I heard that he gave the money back because maybe that little shoulder injury didn't have nothing to do with the Saints. And that the Saints was going to contest that money because that shoulder injury just came out of left field. You know, I mean, and let's just say you did hurt your shoulder. Well, you hurt your shoulder because you were stupid ass. I don't know who you think you are. You thought you was Josh Allen or somebody? I mean, you tried to jump over the damn pile and stuff, and broke his hand. I mean, I mean, you couldn't. You just a bona fide 100% grade A dummy. Bye, Derek. We never liked you, bro. We never wanted you, Derek. Bye. The best thing that Derek ever did was retiring. At the moment that he did, I thought that he would have retarded the growth of any quarterback that came in. Did you? I mean, you talking about veteran quarterback? Would you have wanted Derek to mentor somebody? Derek? No, no. That was the best thing that ever happened to us, man. And that move right there, right, is going to be able to get us out of the cap hell that we've been in the last few years, too. You understand? Thank you, Derek, but no thank you, because I don't think that you gave the money away in good faith. I don't think you refused the money in good faith. I don't think so, Derek. There's something that stinks to high hell about that. You understand? You don't like us. You know the Saints don't like you. The Saints fans and stuff in the city don't like you. What's a great way to give us the favor? Retire and take all that money with you. And then we really would have been like, F. Derek Carr. But there's something that's going on. We're going to hear it and stuff one day. It may come out in somebody's book or something or whatever, because Mickey being a little punk, won't tell us what's going on and stuff. And Mickey, you can do like Derek too, Mickey. If you listen to me, Mickey, you can do just like Derek, bro. Why don't you retire? The Saints fans don't like you either. Retire, Mickey. We won't miss you, bro. I guarantee you, man. You can retire and go somewhere and chew all the gum you want.
And that was Mickey. Mickey allowed this situation to happen. This whole situation is Mickey's fault that we gave this guy this much money and everything. But like I said, that was an interesting point you made. About, I know he gave us some money back or whatever like that, but I think it was more to that, because I think he knew the Saints would have took him to court if he just
Mm-hmm.
took and ran with it, especially with that shoulder injury. The reason for him retiring, he's saying that it was because of the shoulder. He don't want to go through that whole phase, and then you already got a situation where you about to lose your job anyway. So it was the shoulder was the forefront supposedly of why he retired. So the Saints see that, and he want to keep some money or keep that 40 mil, whatever he's supposed to keep. I forgot.
Yeah.
He would have been going. They'd have took him to court. So I think that's was more of why he made that move. But
Yeah, you're not fooling nobody, Derek. Who I don't care who you are. I don't care what your faith is or whatever, right? You're not gonna just walk away from $30 million like that. You're not gonna do that. I would never believe that, CB. I would never believe that. You understand? No matter what he would have to prove it to me himself. That he didn't, that he did this in quote unquote good faith or whatever. Like, no, I don't believe that. You understand? You did something, you was down bad in some kind of way, and then you didn't want to play for us no more. So, I got a funny feeling like his retirement ain't permanent. Got a feeling that he may retire, right now, maybe even stay retired for a couple of years and still come back or whatever. I don't think that he retired in good faith. You see? I think that I don't think he retired because he felt like, how most players retire because they felt like they didn't gave all that they can give to the game. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. You know, injuries and you know what I'm saying? But I don't believe that he retired in good faith. But I don't care no more, man. He's not playing for the Saints no more. We done totally flipped the script. Now we don't have. I'm glad that we got away from the only connection that we got to anything that we did in the past is Mickey Loomis. It's the only connection that we got. It seems like everything else is like a big breath of fresh air. There ain't no previous ties to it where the fans are expecting any unreasonable amount of success. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. Now, do I think we're gonna have I don't even know if we're gonna have a team that's, I don't think we're gonna be good enough to go to the playoffs. But if we got the right, culture, if Kelly Moore is building the right culture, and we got the right players, and there's a chemistry, we got chemistry with the team, I would take that, because I know that that's something that will go a long way, in the future. But if we losing and stuff every week and we ain't got no chemistry, we can't really identify, what type of team this is, what they, do best, what they like to do and stuff like that, and we done. So
That's a fact.
we're gonna see, man. There's still a whole lot to see though, CB, but I'm encouraged. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm encouraged by everything I'm seeing coming from the coaching staff right now and the players.
Okay, so you on board. I mean, you digging how everything rolling right now. I agree with you. I'm just glad, and it's nothing against I forgot the guy's name, the interim head coach that left. It's nothing against him or anything. I'm not saying that he would
Yeah,
have.
Rizzy, Darren Rizzy.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Rizzy wouldn't have turned our franchise around or anything like this, but it was just time for a brand new rookie head coach because we had one that led us to the promised land and success, and then it was his time to bounce. So now we're in a situation where we just needed to start fresh back over, and you can see the way that they drafted. They drafted looking down the road towards the future. So I mean, I like how it's going. I just think everybody as everybody in Who That Nation, we just need to get our minds, set that we may not. I'm not about to just 100% count us out, but I'm not about to just stand with my chest out like I have in the past and just be like, yeah, we're about to be in the playoffs and woo woo woo. I'm saying that it's a it's it's a decent chance that we may not, make the playoffs. We may not win the division.
I don't think we're gonna do either one of those things you just mentioned. I don't think we're gonna make the playoffs, nor do I believe that we're gonna win the division. I don't believe that. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm not judging this team on that. I'm
Right.
judging this team on. I'm judging this coach, right? Which no matter how people look at it, Kellen Moore is a rookie head coach. Even if we start Spencer Rattler, right? That would be a second year player. He's kind of still a little rookie like, you know what I'm saying? A little rookie-ish. Let me say it like that, right? Even if we start him, if we start Tyler Shook, then we definitely starting a rookie. You understand what I'm saying? We got a rookie left tackle. You know, everything is fresh and new. You know, if he can instill that in there, we'll be lucky. But no, I'm not going with that notion or that narrative like we're going to be a team like we're going to playoffs. No, I don't think that we're going to playoffs. You know, and I doubt if we even have a winning record. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's not what I'm judging this team on. I want to see how well Kellen Moore can establish a culture inside that locker room
Right.
and to see that there's progress, that can be made going forward, where we can identify some younger players as players that can be that we can rely upon in as we go forward. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I don't really see the fruits of this draft materializing, right away. I say give it a year or two, then we're going to see the fruits of this draft and how it materializes. We may see it sooner in some players. Of course, some players and stuff from this draft is going to show some signs. Someone is going to show some signs,
Right.
this season. But I don't want people to get too high or too low on the team, based on how they perform this season. This will be a rough season, even if we have brought in a veteran coach with a whole lot of experience. As a head coach, I want to be specific in saying that because people will come on here and talk about how Kelly Moore has success, as a coordinator, but I mean as a head coach. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Because this is a whole nother arena for him. Yeah, I mean, Da he was a hell of a coordinator, and then he got to the head coaching. He wasn't able to lead a locker room full of men. So
Yeah,
we
and
see what Kellen Moore can. We see what Kellen Moore can do. But yeah, we can't expect a Sean Payton. I know some people's like he could come out the waters like a Sean Payton. If for some reason he just come out like that, hey man, that'd be awesome. But we can't expect that. I'm not expecting that to happen. I'm expecting to well, I'm not gonna say expecting, no expect. I'm wanting to see growth in us competing. May not turn out into wins or so what, but I just want to see growth, promise with the team.
some despite our success that we had with Sean Payton, I much rather my team come out, I guess pacing themselves a little slow. You know what I'm saying? Not really having that kind of quote unquote success early in my career. Rather, I would much rather sacrifice that success early for success later. Because, then Sean Payton and I don't even think did we make the playoffs the next season after that? We didn't even make the playoffs the next season after that, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
2006, we didn't even make the playoffs. Then I remember we had a succession of 7 and 9 seasons, you know what I'm saying, in a row and all that kind of stuff. You know, I much rather the team come out, you know, not really have a quote unquote winning record, but like I say, have a vision, have an identity as a team, have an established culture in the locker room and stuff like that. And then you gradually build towards your wins, then maybe next season, we do good enough maybe to almost make it to the playoffs, 10-7 or something like that, and then, we got beat out by, one game or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then that next season come back and be a damn beast. You understand what I'm saying? You
Right.
know, all, well machine, everything clicking. You know what I'm saying? Because then once you get on the road there, then you can stay on the road and see how long you can keep your window open, towards winning the championship there. Because like when you did what Sean Payton did, then that put huge expectations and stuff on you right away. I mean, you as a rookie head coach, with this team, and you take this team to the NFC Championship game on the brinks of going to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So I much rather the slow and steady, rather than the fast and the furious. You dig? That's what I much rather.
Agreed. Agreed. So okay, well, let's get on some position groups. Looking at the position group, give me what is your weakest position group on the offensive side and your weakest position group on the defensive side.
I think on the offensive side, I think the weakest position group is probably um, at wide receiver. And when I say group, when you say group, you mean all together. You
Right.
don't mean individual players. You
Well,
understand what I'm
all
saying?
together.
Because I still think that we got a significant drop off after Olave and Rashid. You understand what I'm saying? I still think that we got a big drop off. And I think that that's the biggest drop off that we have, you know, throughout the whole team, to be honest with you. You
What
know,
you think about Cooks? You
no,
think
no,
you don't think that's
no. And plus, he kind of fits the body type and the frame, of Rashid and Olave. I mean, except he's older and slower. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't think that was a good. I didn't like that signing at all. That sounded like some, I don't know, some buddy type signing to me. Like you my buddy, and that's what I think that's what that feels like to me. To be quite honest with you, but that wide receiver group is still the weakest and stuff, and because we didn't address it during the draft, which we should have. So it is what it is, unfortunately.
okay. So
So let me see now on the defensive side. I would have to say the defensive line, you know, because a lot of them cats, man, they got pushed around last season. And I mean, we bought in Devin Gaucho. We drafted the kid out of Texas. I think that's where he played at, maybe Texas.
yeah,
The
Texas.
kid, you know. So, until he can catch up with the game and all that kind of stuff, the speed of the game and all that, and like also too, we don't know how they're gonna apply the people on the defensive line. Because it's a whole different defense. This guy does not run a 4-3. He runs a 3-4, and sometimes they say a 3-4 hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really know what kind of defense we're gonna be quote unquote looking at, throughout the whole season. But I think it's defensive line on the other side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. Until them dudes and stuff, Cam the rest of those dudes, start showing me something. And it is what it is, CD. You know. So I think it's the defensive line on the defensive side and the wide receiver on the offensive side.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, the offensive side, yeah, I can agree with the offensive side because far as the QP position is what it is. I'm not even going to consider that a weak point because we're trying to figure out what it is at that position. But the running back, we got AK. Um, we just brought in Cam Akers. Cam Akers, I think he got the chance to give us backup, some backup depth, or it's gonna be a competition. Cause I'm not writing Devin Neal. I think he can contribute right away as a backup running back, subbing in and out. So I like it back there. Cam Akers make it say even more better. The wide receiver position, yeah, man, we don't have no big physical body receiver. Cooks, he'll be getting a lot of slot in the slot, but then you're gonna be asking Shaheed and Olave to who gonna be your possession receivers, getting you them first down catches and stuff. So that's a big question mark there. I mean, Olave, if you supposed to be that guy, you supposed to. I'm not saying be no big old Marcus Colston or Mike Thomas or anything like that, but it's guys similar size as you in the league that can make those tough contested catches. So Olave is the one that gonna have to step up and do that if we don't bring in nobody, which I don't highly doubt it, unless
Well,
we.
they did bring in it's the guy Donovan Peoples Jones.
Yeah, yeah.
They did bring him in. He's a big body, wide receiver. But I would have thought that they would have drafted somebody, you know, rather than take this guy and who's been in the league. And the way I heard that he in his last stint, it didn't really have too much to do with what he did on the field. It's just that I guess the coach just wanted to play the other guy ahead of him or whatever. But he would have ample opportunity here. I mean, he's with a rookie head coach, who's eager to find people that can contribute to the team. And it just got to be him. He got to go out, and get it done. And if he does, make the Saints and doing what he's doing, you know, he stands to make a lot of money. So he can get himself another contract because I think they signed him to like one. I think a 1 year contract or something like that.
Yeah, one
You
year.
know, they can bring him back and get some money, or if not, he can get some money and stuff from another team. That may have looked at him and seen how successful he was in that role. And he have the opportunity. It's a new coaching staff. Fresh new eyes, new franchise, all that kind of stuff. He got the opportunity now. Is he gonna take advantage of it? I don't know. I did see him. I remember the last time that he played. I remember he played for the Browns, and he did make some pretty good catches and stuff. And he at least contributed, to them, and he wasn't like like a player can come in and they don't contribute. They just there on the bench and all that kind of stuff. But he made a lot of good contributions and stuff to the Browns. So I'm eager to see how I'm eager to see how all this stuff looks. You know what I'm saying? Because a
Right.
lot of this stuff is much different than what we have grown accustomed to in the Who That Nation.
Facts. Okay, so if I mean the offensive line can be solid. We see how Penning they declined his 5th year option, so this is the last year. So it's make or break for him. If he have a solid season, we can make that decision either to bring him back or he can make some money elsewhere. So I think he gonna have a chip on his shoulder. And then Kelvin Banks, it's looking like he gonna be on the blind side. Um,
Mhm.
I think he gonna be solid. The offensive line is pretty solid right now, so I'm gonna like it right there. Tight end, I believe Taysom gonna be in the mix with that. But the defensive side, to me, I'm gonna just say every position group
Mhm.
because and it's more based on the style of defense we're about to be running. Because
Before you talk about the defensive side, I want to also, right, can I talk about something too, right? I think when you was talking, let's get to the offensive line you was just talking about. I'm very encouraged, by the fact that Penny, is embracing, his position change. He said that according to him, that's what he had been lobbying to do that, ever since last season, to play, guard. So that's a good thing that he's embracing that. And in saying that, right now, you said, I know I'm overall on the team. I am tempering my expectations, but there's a group that I'm not tempering my expectations on, and that's that offensive line. You know, I expect that offensive line to be the strength of the Saints team, and I mean the whole team.
mhm,
You know, and the reason why I say that is because there's no group that we have invested in more than that offensive line. Remember Taliesin, number one. Kelvin Banks, number one. Trevor Penning, number one. Cesar Ruiz, number one. Eric McCoy, number two, high number two.
mhm.
You know, we got more invested in that offensive line than what we have invested on the whole football team. And I think that this time around, which is, we didn't do last season, I also think that now that we have brought in sufficient depth on that offensive line, two for once. So I don't expect that, I will be upset. And I think that all Saints fans should be upset if that offensive line struggles. I expect that offensive line. I don't like saying it, but I mean, but I gotta say it. I expect them to hit the ground running, even with the rookie left tackle.
Right.
You understand? Because everybody seems like everybody is in a position to win now. You know, I'm glad they didn't go through that stuff. I heard them talking all that stuff about perhaps, trying Kelvin Banks at guard or trying him at right tackle and all that kind of foolishness. I'm glad they didn't do that. They put Taliesin on the right where he played in college, where he's most familiar with that. They put Kelvin Banks at left where he played in college, where he's the most familiar at. You understand? They put Penn in that guard, which is the place where he should have been at in the first place, you know. And then everything else, just came, together with Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz.
Agreed.
So yeah, that I expect that offensive line to open up holes for the running back
Mhm.
and to protect whoever we got at quarterback back there. Yes, I do. And I'm gonna be hard on them if they don't, because that's the only position group that we have that much invested into them. CB. Now, what you were saying about the defense? What you was about to say about the defense?
I agree, man. So yeah, the defensive side, y'all excuse the background, but yeah, the defensive side, I'm gonna go everybody, but if I really wanted to pick one, I'll go with the I'll go with the defensive line, but I'm gonna just be honest. Transitioning to that 3-4, I don't think our team was suited for that. I don't think that the team was suited for that, especially with a lot of the players we have. Um, Cam definitely shouldn't be a starter this year. I don't. He shouldn't be out there starting this year, especially in this system. If we talking about having two edge players, Chase Young, I'm kind of iffy on that. I think he got overpaid, but I ain't tripping. But he gonna be on one side. He gonna have to show up on the other side. You gonna
Call
have who? Carl Granderson or
Granderson.
Brian Brzee.
Call Granderson. I
So
think I think them dudes. I can envision Brazil playing defensive end in this particular defense, and they're gonna have somebody like Gacho or that little rookie playing the nose tackle. And I'm
right.
gonna tell you something else too, right? You might not like it, right? But I can see Cam Jordan is starting at the other defensive end in the 3-4. You understand? Because in the 3-4, like the defensive ends are a bit bigger. You understand what I'm saying? I think Granderson gonna start on one end and he's gonna be a de facto type linebacker, if you will. You know, and so with Chase Young. But according to what I understand is that Chase Young will play a position because Staley has a specific position for him where he all he does is just rush the quarterback. You know, he don't have really so much responsibilities as to to cover backs and stuff like that out the backfield and stuff like that. So I think that Chase is so he's going to be like a de facto linebacker in his defense in a sense. And in the middle, we're going to have Pete and Demario going to be in the middle. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So that's the way I envision this defense looking. I think the best version of this defense, if I'm just looking at it from afar, is Cam, Gaucho, and Brazil, and then Granderson, Chase Young, um, Pete, my man Pete, Pete Nice, and then Demario Davis in the middle. And then I'm hearing that we supposed to what we going our look in the backfield is gonna always look like a de facto nickel look because this guy also have a position. He always have this one position where they have this cornerback slash safety or whatever, on the field all the time, which would be Alante Taylor, which is that's the role for him. We have identified at the fact that he's really good in the slot. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
He didn't start out good in the slot, but he is good in the slot now. So they say he should be on the field at all times. So we're gonna be featuring a de facto nickel look all the time. Now, on one side, we have identified that Kool-Aid is going to be on one side, and the way I'm in that the Honey Badger is going to play strong safety now, which is what he should have been playing in the first place. You understand? They're not going to have him in the back, And this guy who we signed, the biggest off-season signings that we had is Justin, what his name? Simmons,
Just read.
Reed, yeah.
Yes.
So he's going to play the free safety position. The only question mark will be who's going to play opposite Kool-Aid, you know.
Yeah, right. That's the question.
Yeah. So it is what it is with that. So I'm just saying, if you see Cam Jordan starting, don't flip your wig, especially in this defense. I don't think the defensive end, like in the street four, they don't really have much of a responsibility to quote unquote rush, if you will. You know what I'm saying? They have more of a responsibility to kind of stop the run and just free up the linebackers, to make the plays.
Now, if that's what the vision is, and now that you say that, that does make more sense. And Chase Young, that definitely makes sense to be a stand up linebacker. Now, far as how they plan to cover, I'm gonna go back and look at before training camp. I'm gonna go back and look at some tape of the Rams group, because
Yeah,
I think Leonard Floyd, he was a part of that 3-4, and he
yeah,
was he
and,
was an
and he
outside
thrived.
linebacker.
Yeah, and he thrived too. He thrived on the same coaching, the same coach, the defensive coordinator that we got now. He thrived underneath that defense, and also Aaron Donald thrived underneath that defense too. But Aaron Donald is a different type of animal than anything that we can feature. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we gonna see, man. All I know is that Leonard Floyd went there, and he became a beast, in his defense. Now, can Chase Young do that? I know one thing: we certainly need him to do that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna need that. But can he do it? That's all, remaining to be seen.
Right.
So, do we have any questions from anybody else out there?
Okay. Shout out to RG Scott. I see RG Scott got a question uptown. You can answer that one.
What do y'all see our overall on the record for the season? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I would be encouraged if we won 6 games or so. I would be encouraged. I'm not. I'm really not expecting a whole lot out of this team. Like I said, what's more important is if Kellen Moore can develop a culture inside that locker room, and if we can identify a quarterback that can take us into the future and some other younger players that we can see promise in, that will be a successful season for me. A successful season to me this season is not necessarily a playoff run. And I'm telling Saints fans right now, man, anybody who can listen to me within my voice, if you are expecting the Saints to be a beast this season, to win a whole bunch of games and be in the playoffs, you are delusional. I'm letting you know that right now. You're delusional. Okay? All that stuff, and I know people looking at what happened with Jaden Daniels and stuff last season and think, man, that don't happen every season. You understand what I'm saying? And plus, like, let's be for real, right? We don't know if we have no player as special as no damn Jaden Daniels. We don't know that.
Right.
Let's be for real. Okay? And this is something I said years ago. Now that we going through it, don't act crazy now. We should have went through this whole little rebuild thing about a good 5 years ago. We should have went through this. You understand what I'm saying? It's here now. We gonna suck for a couple of years. We gonna be getting them high draft picks, and then the good players come in with the high draft picks, and then somewhere along the line with this coaching staff. In about 3 years, give him his 3 years and give him an honest 3 years. Okay, in 3 years, then we should start seeing the fruits of our labors. And if we're not seeing the fruits of our labors, then we can assess it. Then we know that something is going wrong, or it look like it's going wrong, or maybe we need a little bit more time after that, right? We'll make an assessment then. But don't come out and whoever that we eventually end up with as starting quarterback, don't expect them to come out looking like Drew Brees, or Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen, or Aaron Rodgers, or anybody else that you can envision like that, or Jaden Daniels. You understand? Don't expect them to come out looking like that. Okay? The only position group or position on this team that I expect to see, I would say, some immediate success from is that offensive line. Period. You understand? Everybody else is everything else on this team is a project. Period. Let's keep it real. Is it a successful project or unsuccessful project? We don't know yet. Okay? But we will know. The Saints fans, we gonna go through it. It's like any other team go through it. We lost a doggone Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback and coach. And we're going through the same stuff that we've seen people do. New England going through it as well. You understand? Remember the San Francisco 49ers went through it as well. Those things happen. Okay? Now, the true test is how do we get back to those days, those teams, and having that kind of success. And this season will help to determine whether we going back to that are heading that way or in the right direction, or if we not. We'll find out.
And just to piggyback on your question, RG Scott, I know I had put schedule release on here, but yeah, man, it's really no need to. Well, it's no need for us to talk about the schedule release because, like we said, the expectation that I'm only looking at is that offensive line. As far as what we're gonna do as a whole, I can't even. It'll be hard to give a win total or anything like that because the driving force of the team, which is the quarterback position, we don't even know how that's going to pan out. Who is going to be our guy? If it's Spencer Rattler, yeah, you got the few games last year. You saw some promise. You saw some things that weren't promising, but you still don't even know how Spencer Rattler will play out. You don't know how Tyler Shutt will play out because one of those guys is going to be in a position where it's not a QB competition no more. The winner is going to be their ball club, and they got to lead the locker room. So, I mean, to be in that position, we really can't even, say what a record would be. But yeah, trying to give a win total, I won't do that. But just like Uptown said, the things that the Who That Nation should be looking for is growth. Um, Seeing is can we build on something this season? Can we build on something? If we build fast, great. As long as it's continuing to build, So you look at New England. New England had that 20-something year run, and then they started. Well, I think like year 20 or whatever when Brady left. You could see the decline in the team. At some point, it's going to start back over. What happened in our situation is we should have drafted Lamar Jackson that 2018 draft.
Mm-hmm.
And after that season that we came up short, I'm not sure if that was the Rams year or the Buccaneers. Yeah, I think that was the Rams season. After that, that should have been it. We should have moved on because we waited. We what waited 5 years too late. So
Mm-hmm.
we bringing DA in, thinking that we're gonna continue or he's gonna keep the success going. When you got a Hall of Famer like Drew Brees or Tom Brady, once those guys left, you seen it in New England. What did they do? They got their franchise guy. They tried out a head coach. It didn't work, but obviously they wanted Vrabel from the start. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Mayo was just a little do boy for a year, but anyway, they still got their guy. Um, and we just waited a couple years too late, which caused frustration within the fan base because we sitting here getting fed BS and all these promises that DA gave us, making us think that we're going to actually be contenders, which we turned out to be pretenders
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of guys that was long overdue um, on the team, giving guys contracts that knowing good and damn well that they wasn't worth 160 mil. We invested in a guy that was not on that level.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, I know that's done got all of us frustrated, but it's time to turn the frustration off. This is a new regime. We can
Mm-hmm.
try to look on the depth chart and see like, oh, we still got AK, we still got some solid P. I'm not looking at it like that. That offensive line, that's the only position I'm looking at. Just like Uptown said, man, and that should be a solid piece because they have been playing together. Even though Penning has been up and down, but he's been playing with those guys other than Banks. He played with Fuaga last year, so that
Yep.
position I'm expecting them to protect our basically our rookie quarterback. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's Rattler, even if it's Rattler, I still consider him. This is his first year taking the reins, so I'm still looking at him as a rookie as well. So that's just how I see it, man. And yeah, man, basically same thing Uptown saying, man. Expecting, I'm not expecting to compete. Now, if it happens, I mean, hell yeah, I'm gonna be excited and
Oh boy, I mean,
oh yeah,
we should be excited because then that would mean that our pace got accelerated somehow.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But like anybody would speak for real. We would be excited if the team win. We big fans of the team. But um, again, I'm gonna emphasize this and leave it at that. As long as we see progress, and I see that Kellen Moore, you know, has got the right culture going on in the locker room, then that will be success for me for this season. And so far, he's been having the right culture in the locker room so far, from what I've been hearing.
All right. Well, Uptown, you got any final thoughts, man, before we wrap this show up?
My final thoughts is, look, man, our draft didn't look sexy, you know what I'm saying, but I thought it was effective. I think those dudes are a great group of players, both on and off the field. I say give that some time. We got to give this head coach some time. Um, I don't know if he wasn't really my choice. I'm gonna be honest with you. Kelly Moore wasn't my choice, but he's starting to look like the right choice from the Saints. They did take some time in hiring him, and I think that probably had a lot more to do with than them just being having an extended playoff run. You know, I think that had a lot more to do with it. Other than that, I really, and I don't like giving this man any kind of props or whatever. I think he may have did his homework on this particular coach. You know who? You understand? If he even had anything to do with it. But, so far, he's looking pretty solid and stuff, The players and stuff seem to be buying into his program. I don't see no sellers, so far. So, just keep in mind, right? Although the Saints administration won't admit this, we are rebuilding. So y'all need to keep that in mind. So, and that's about it. That's all I really have to say about that, CB.
Okay, I want to thank the Who That Nation for tuning in for today's show. I know it's been a couple weeks. I think around Memorial Weekend was about the last time we done the show, but man, definitely glad to have Uptown back in the building, and just Who That Nation be on the lookout for some things coming from our guy WD. He got some things he wanna throw out. So you guys just be on the lookout for that, man. Be on the lookout for some upcoming shows. I do want to start doing some position talk. I think that'll be the next show that we'll have be discussing, um most likely defensive backs or whatever. But me and Uptown to get together and figure out what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
we'll break it down position by position.
Right.
And plus, we can deal with whatever the latest Saints news is, and stuff of that nature too. And I guess by then we ought to have a bunch of stuff because they should be going into training camp soon, right, CB?
I
Yeah,
didn't look at the date, but it's usually the last week of July,
yeah. They
July
should be
20
going into
something.
training camp pretty soon,
Right.
So that'll give us a whole lot to talk about, and that will give us more of an idea on who is going to be leading this race, to be quarterback for the New Orleans Saints.
Right. All right.
So
So
hey, it was good to see you, man. It's good to see you too, Jerry, and everybody in here, man. Good to see everybody. I ain't gonna be no stranger. I'll be around. You dig?
yes, sir.
And we good, man. I'm glad that everybody came out, or whatever the few people that we did have come out. All the other people, man, they gonna wish they came out, but it is what it is. You know.
All right, Who That Nation will be on the lookout for some more content coming from the page. And Who That Nation, like we said today, man, this is a time to be excited to see, what's coming for the Saints. It's not a time to be down and out, just a time to be happy but patient, because this could develop into another 15, 20-year run. If things pan out right. So just keep your patience. Be on the lookout for another show. This is the WDN Chat Line Podcast, and we out. Who that?
Who that, baby? For life.